Hi friends, it's Lala. Welcome to another weird video where we just lie in my bed and talk about books. I know that this is not the content that everybody is here for, but learning about upcoming books is something that brings me a lot of joy. Yes, I am a part of the book community, the book reviewing community, but I myself don't find new books by watching or reading reviews. I just regularly check Goodreads and Publishers Weekly and follow a lot of people in the book community and find out about stuff that doesn't even have covers or titles. All I need is a couple word synopsis and I know if it's making it on my Goodreads want to read list. I have two lists on Goodreads. I have a want to read and I have on my radar. A lot of books will go on my radar until they have like a cover or a better synopsis, or someone has read like an arc of it and then I know if it's truly going to end up in my want to read or if it just gets kicked off. So basically what we're doing today, if you haven't watched one of these before, is I'm literally just going to my Goodreads want to read and on my radar shelf and sorting it by like most recently added, and I'm going to tell you what has been most recently added that I'm somewhat interested in. Things that maybe you didn't know were coming. A lot of them are usually just like authors I've read from before and they have a new thing coming up and I add it. But these are all books that I have become aware of and am somewhat interested in. That's it. That's the video. Okay, the first one does actually have a cover, but Parker P.V. House has a new book. She's an author that like nobody really talks about. She has a new book coming out in 2020. It's called Strange Exit. And I actually found it because it was part of a list of 2020 thrillers. So like, is this actually a thriller? Is that what's happening? This is a pretty good synopsis. It comes out in January. So it says 17-year-old Lake. This is it. I literally just read you what these books are about. This is a video for some people, probably not for most. Hi. 17-year-old Lake spends her days searching a strange post-apocalyptic landscape for people who've forgotten one very important thing. This isn't reality. Everyone she meets is a passenger aboard a ship that's been orbiting Earth since a nuclear event. Side note, I haven't read some of these synopses. I've just added them. The simulation that was supposed to prepare them all for life after the apocalypse has trapped their minds in a shared virtual reality and their bodies in stasis chambers. No one can get off the ship until all of the passengers are out of the sim, and no one can get out of the sim unless they believe it's a simulation. This is pretty on par with the other stuff that Parker P.V. House has written, like alternate universe, like weird reality, time shifting stuff. It's all super ambitious. Like these ideas are so cool. The cover is ugly. No offense to the designers. Maybe it works for you. I don't know. Gotta get a little lower. I'm sinking into my bed. Okay, then there's one for Megan Miranda. There is no synopsis, but it says it's coming out in 2020. It's called The Girl from Window Hills. My thing with Megan Miranda is I love her books or I DNF her books. I don't know what it is, but halfway through a Megan Miranda, like I know if I'm gonna love it, and if I'm not gonna love it, I just give up because it's not worth it. Okay. The next one on here is called 8 Perfect Murders. It's by Peter Swanson. This one has a cover too. This one actually sounds so interesting because it's based on books basically, and I love a good book that's about books. So it says, years ago, bookseller and mystery aficionado Malcolm Kershaw compiled a list of the genre's most unsolvable mysteries. That's where the title 8 Perfect Murders comes from. Made this list of all these murders from books. So like Agatha Christie's ABC Murders, Donna Tartt's A Secret History, A.A. Milne's Red House Mystery. Anyway, the FBI comes and knocks on his door looking for information of a series of unsolved murders that follow the list that this guy created. There's a killer out there who's following this guy, knows his every move, is like copycatting fiction murders. I definitely want to read it. I've read some Peter Swanson and loved it, and read some Peter Swanson and DNF'd it again. Interesting. Okay, and then no one told me that CJ Tudor has another book coming out. It's called The Other People. I loved The Chalk Man a lot, so I think I'll check this one out. 3 years ago, Gabe saw his daughter taken in the back of a rusty old car covered in bumper stickers. He was driving behind the car. He watched her disappear, but no one believed him. Most people believe that his daughter and wife are dead. 3 years later, he can't give up hope. He spends his days and nights traveling up and down the motorway looking for her. Okay, now we've got Katie, who spends a lot of her time in service stations working as a waitress. She often sees Gabriel, or the Thin Man. She knows his story. She feels for him because Katie understands what it's like to lose a loved one. 9 years ago, her father was murdered. It broke her family apart. She hasn't seen her older sister since the day of the funeral, the day she did something terrible. Dun dun dun. Then we've got Fran and her daughter Alice. They've put in a lot of miles on the motorway, not searching, but running, trying to keep one step ahead of the people that want to hurt them, because Fran knows the truth. She knows what really happened to Gabe's daughter. She knows who's responsible, and she knows if they ever find them, they're dead. I don't know what's happening. It's 400 pages of multiple perspectives. Okay, and then there's a new Goodreads listing for Elizabeth Acevedo. The book is called Clap When You Land. This one comes out in May, 400 pages. Camino Rio lives for the summers when her father visits her in the Dominican Republic. This time, on the day when his plane is supposed to land, Camino arrives at the airport to see crowds of crying people. Then, in New York City, Yahara Rio is called to the principal's office where her mother is waiting to tell her father her hero has died in a plane crash. Separated by distance and Poppy's secrets, so he had 2 daughters who didn't know about each other, I guess. 2 girls are forced to face a new reality in which their father is dead and their lives are forever altered. Oh my god, that sounds rough to read. I can't wait. Okay, and then Rory Power, author of one of my favorite books of the year, Wilder Girls, announced a new book. It's called Burn Our Bodies Down, which is one of my favorite titles like ever. And I haven't actually read the synopsis of this. I just added it to my shelf. Stuck in a rundown apartment in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, Margot, it's one of my favorite names, that doesn't matter, has spent her whole life trying to get closer to her secretive, mercurial mother. When she discovers the name of her mother's hometown, Faline, she thinks she's found the key. But Faline is home to 100 secrets hidden between the floorboards of her grandmother's farmhouse, buried under the cornfields. And if Margot's not careful, she'll end up buried there too. What? I half understand what's happening. I wonder if it's realistic fiction, because Wilder Girls, you know, had like the fantasy element. I wonder if this will also have some other thing besides just being contemporary. Oh my god, I can't wait to see the cover. Burn Our Bodies Down. What a fucking title. Okay, another one that I added is called I Killed Zoe Spanos by Kit Frick. This is an author that I've heard mentioned before, but I don't know any of their books. I've never read any of their books. When Anna Ciccone arrives in the small Hamptons village of Heron Mills for a summer nanny gig, she has high hopes for a fresh start. What she finds instead is a community on edge after the disappearance of Zoe Spanos, a local girl who's been missing since New Year's Eve. Anna bears an eerie resemblance to Zoe. For some reason, I love that trope. When there's a new girl in town and she looks just like a girl who just died in town, she becomes increasingly convinced that she and Zoe are connected. 2 months later, Zoe's body is found in a nearby lake and Anna is charged with manslaughter. How did we get there? Inspired by Serial and Rebecca, this thrilling story of psychological suspense is told in 3 interwoven timelines. Oh my god. Oh, right! It says including the transcript of a fictionalized true crime podcast. It's another podcast book. You know I love podcast books. That's why I added this. And then I haven't seen anybody talk about this, like none of the authors or anything. It's always such a wonder like how something gets added to Goodreads, because I think anybody can add anything to Goodreads. But like, was it an author? Did it happen before like it was supposed to be announced? Or is it just kind of a quiet announcement that I missed? Anyway, there's a new anthology coming out at the end of 2020. It's called Battle of the Bands. I love anthologies. This one involves Lauren Gabaldi and Eric Smith and Brittany Cavallaro, all of which I've read from before, and Sean David Hutchinson, Ashley Poston, Jasmine Warga. Oh, and it's interconnected stories. Okay, so it's kind of like, which ones have I read like that? The Sean David Hutchinson one's like Violent Ends, where it was all different perspectives of a school shooting, or Feral Youth, where they're walking and they're sharing stories with each other. So this is going to be from like people participating in Battle of the Bands, I think like the audience. I love that. I want to read that. Speaking of Sean David Hutchinson, he just announced a new book. I don't read every Sean David Hutchinson. I'm picky. I do love his books, but they don't all appeal to me. This one definitely does. It's called A Complicated Love Story Set in Space. And if that just doesn't do everything for me, because I think it'll be that perfect mix of realistic fiction and sci-fi. All it says on Goodreads is the story of Noah and DJ, who wake up on a spaceship with no idea how they got there, facing one life-threatening emergency after another while also dealing with their feelings for one another. So it definitely has that tone of like We're the Ants or At the Edge of the Universe. It sounds pretty quintessential Sean David Hutchinson is what I'm saying. Okay, and then there's a new untitled Ruth Ware that was just added to Goodreads, which I might as well link so you can add it to your shelves, but there's no information about it. I just like to add things so when there is an announcement, a reveal of like a title or a cover or a synopsis, I already have it kind of ready to go. Next up, Carrie Clutter. So Carrie Clutter wrote one of my favorite books, The First Time She Drowned, which is ridiculously underread. It's amazing. I've never met anybody who has actually read it and didn't completely love it. So please read it. And then read her new one. It's called East Coast Girls. Childhood friends Hannah, Maya, Blue, and Renee share a bond that feels more like family. Campfires on the beach, sea spray hair, effervescent excitement. Summer after graduation, one terrible night changed everything. 12 years have passed since the fateful incident. Okay, so is this adult? I love 20 years, 10 years, 12 years in the past finding out the truth. 12 years have passed since the fateful incident, and during that time their sisterhood has drifted apart, each haunted by her own lost innocence. But just as they reunite for one last summer together, hoping to heal the wounds and find happiness once more, tragedy strikes again. I can't wait. I'm like the first person on the entirety of Goodreads who's added this to their shelves. Oh my god, it's gonna be great. I know it's gonna be great. And then Mary Kubica has another thriller. I feel like it's been a couple years since her last thriller. Didn't she come out with like one a year for quite a few years? Oh, I guess When the Lights came out in 2018, so it's only going to be 2 years between books. It's called The Other Misses. It just got a cover. It says Sadie and Will Faust have only just moved their family from bustling Chicago to small town Maine when their neighbor Morgan is found dead in her home. The murder rocks the tiny coastal island. Oh, I love an island book. But it's not just Morgan's death that has Sadie on edge. It's their eerie old home. Oh my god, I love a creepy house story. It's Will's disturbed niece Imogen too, with her dark and threatening presence. Love a spooky kid. As the eyes of suspicion turn toward the new family in town, Sadie is drawn deeper into the mystery of Morgan's death. Yes, added to my TBR. Sounds great. And then I think last time, which I'm dying over because I really meant to talk about, I've talked about this book in a couple videos I think, but not a video like this where I just talk about upcoming stuff. And it's the upcoming Shakespeare Anthology. I just read the Edgar Allan Poe one called His Hideous Heart, which was amazing. And this is also a Dahlia Adler edited short story collection inspired by Shakespeare. And listen to the people who are writing stories in here. Lily Anderson, Brittany Cavallaro, a couple people I never heard of, Anna Marie McLemore, Emily XR Pan, E.B. Zaboy, more people I haven't heard of, but like I've never needed anything more than I've needed a YA short story collection that's like retellings of Shakespeare. That sounds like everything I need in my life. Okay, speaking of Lily Anderson, I have another book from her. It's called The Wayback List on my Goodreads shelf. It doesn't have a synopsis, but it has a blurb. If you don't know, she's the author of The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You and Undead Girl Gang, which I really liked. This one says, The Wayback List, in which a 20-something overachiever loses her Silicon Valley job, moves home with her parents, and decides to complete her high school bucket list in an effort to find herself, connecting with her small town and former friends along the way. I love a book that revolves around a list of like tasks to complete. It's very satisfying and entertaining. I think it sounds great. It's like upper YA or what you might consider new adult. I don't totally know what phrasing you prefer, but I think this age range is definitely underwritten, I guess, so it should be super fun. Then E. Lockhart, something popped up for E. Lockhart called Again Again on Goodreads. It just says it's starring a heroine who is grappling with a family catastrophe and romantic upheaval while confronting the secrets she keeps, her ideas about love, and the weird grandiosity of the human mind. That's kind of an obnoxious blurb, but I want to see what happens with that. There is a book called Harrow Lake by Kat Ellis that apparently grabbed my attention. It says a YA horror thriller in which the daughter of a famous movie director is swept up in the real life terror when she's sent to the sinister small town where his most iconic movie was filmed. That's it. If it's like a campy YA horror, I'm totally down. I've got one on here called Cia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything by Raquel Vasquez Gilliland. And this just says, pitched as a Mexican Jessica Jones racing through a David Arnold novel with a pit stop in Roswell. The novel centers on a Mexican-American girl who discovers that her mother was abducted by aliens. I definitely want to see what this turns out to be because, again, the mix of contemporary and light sci-fi is something that I really enjoy. So that's on my radar. Also on my radar is something called The Juniper Sisters by Dimitra Brodsky. And this one says 3 sisters raised as doomsday preppers face a different kind of threat when one sister's actions draw unwanted attention to the secret compound where they live. See, I'm not pitching these books to you. I'm just sharing like the little blurb they have, what initially intrigued me, and then we'll see like where it goes from here. There's also a book, this one does have a cover. It's called You Should See Me in a Crown, which I love because Billie Eilish. It's by Leah Johnson, and this one says, Liz Lightly has always believed she's too black, too poor, too awkward to shine in her small, rich, prom-obsessed Midwestern town. She has big plans to be in the orchestra, become a doctor, her financial aid falls through, and she ends up wanting to become prom queen in order to like get a scholarship. Oh, I think it's actually queer. There's a new girl in school, Mac. She's funny, smart, and just as much as an outsider, but she's also running for queen. Will falling for the competition keep Liz from her dreams or make them come true? Okay, that sounds like the precious YA that I need in 2020. Oh, and there's one called Never Have I Ever by Rosie Dannon, which I love, a book that revolves around a game. So this one says, an awkward socialite gets more than she bargained for in her new roommate, and the sparks that fly between them, risking their hearts in the wrath of a porn empire after they launch a website focused on women's pleasure. I don't know what just happened, but one of my friends added it to their TBR, and I was like, yeah, on my radar. Let's see what this turns out to like look like. I also have Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. He has that Dragonfly book I talked about last time coming out in 2020, so I was surprised when this one showed up. It says, when transgender teen Felix decides to catfish a rival classmate for revenge, he unexpectedly begins to fall in love with his nemesis online while also struggling with an anonymous troll sending transphobic messages. This person is also the author of that Queen of the Conquered book featuring Booksnake, The King of the Dragonflies that I talked about last time. This is a lot of books coming out all at the same time. He's also the author of Hurricane Child, which I loved so much. And I know a lot of you really like this as kind of an epic love story. That's all the same author. So that's it. That's just some things that I have seen that I've added to my Goodreads just so I'm aware of them. Things that I want to read, things that I maybe will decide I want to read when more gets revealed. Things on my radar. If you're not like into new releases and you don't know about all this stuff, maybe this was helpful, but I don't know if it really was because I don't usually talk about like the most popular things happening in the book community. Like everyone right now is talking about, you know, the Shadow and Bone adaptation and like the cover of the new Hunger Games book. I'm just talking about quiet, unknown books gradually coming soon. I don't know. I hope somebody likes these videos when we just casually hang out and nerd out about books, because that's what I love to do. And I will see you later. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!